Hey, we are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Friday Night Fire. Welcome to This is the Greatest Show.
When you said hey, and Matt, and I thought you were going to sing Jason Mraz, Curbside Prophet. Hey, something's wrong with the world today. I literally was like, that was the perfect.
Was not going to sing that. I shouldn't sing a whole lot of anything on this, but hey. For our guests here, welcome to another Friday Night Fire with me, Mike Phillips, and Matt Koenig over here. And we are going to be talking about some integrity tonight. As always, this is a show for motivation, inspiration, faith-based foundation, and conversation with Matt and I. So we would love for you to drop some conversation, some questions in the sidebar in the chat over here. We're live on YouTube. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Facebook in a bunch of different places.
What up, Matt? What's up, Joe? What's up, Bridget? I'm just hi-ing everybody while you do that part.
Hi-ing everybody. And
hi.
How are you?
Hello.
I hope you're doing well.
I hope you're
doing well. We're starting off early. Fire. Let's go. Bridge Service back again. Our buddy, Joe Ingram. He can feel the heart.
That is the greatest Joe.
It is the greatest Joe in the world. That's like the only line from that song that I know.
Weldon Whitehurst.
What is up? Weldon Whitehurst.
Alvarez.
Matt Raymond over on the LinkedIn. Jesus Alvarez. What up, dude?
Jesus in the house for real.
Yeah, we got Jesus. And we're going to be talking about...
Siri thought I said... Stop! Siri thought I said her name, but I said Jesus. What? Sorry about that. It all went out. It was weird.
Hey, Siri, you're overstepping.
I got to put her on Do Not Disturb. She's really, AI's taking over. Elon Musk.
If you were a pirate, what would your pirate name be? This is we're off our subject tonight. Does it start with Bart?
I don't have LinkedIn Live because I'm at schools. Because I deleted my LinkedIn and just started all over. So I deleted my connections to Russell Brunson and Ed Milet, who are two people that I was like so excited to be connected to. And I was like, yeah, delete LinkedIn. And I was like, oh man, that was stupid. Because
I got your invite, so we're friends again on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think Joe Ingram and I are too. Or I sent it, but he might not be being my friend right now because I deleted everyone. He might still be holding a grudge.
He does that.
But look at this. Like with facial hair like this, Ingram, you can't hold a grudge.
I'm going to go straight Viking, I think, over here.
Bro, you should do it.
So
white walls on the side, and then the mullet with the braid in the back. You'd look good with that.
I would look good with a mullet and a braid. I was just nodding.
If you white wall the sides of your hair.
Caught what you said.
Yeah, if you white wall the sides of your head, let it grow long, braid it in the back, bro. And then have that lion behind you, turn him into a coat. You're a Viking.
It would be like, right here. A little lion man coat.
It's the greatest start to the greatest show.
I'm seriously like maybe 3 seconds behind you tonight with the wit.
Dude, I know you're reading the comments. You do the important stuff. I'll read the comments. Joe Ingram said, I've headed a Viking, or I've headed a command. That's not even a sentence.
You got to be careful on what you're saying, dude. You said you've headed a Viking and gone commando.
I've headed of commando. What is fight? I think Joe has already started drinking, and it's only 5 o'clock here in Pacific time, Joe.
That is correct.
I think it's 5 o'clock somewhere here.
Hey, so one of the things for the people that are tuning into this, Matt and I are doing this every Friday night. It happens at 5 Pacific, 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern, and we are doing this live. As you can tell, it's very well rehearsed, very well scripted. We're right on point. We also do have this on all of the popular podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Will be November 2nd, 30 days from today. We'll be live on iHeartRadio. So I would love for you to join us on the podcast if you like listening to our sweet melodic voices in addition to watching our Friday night show. So getting into the Friday night, getting into the actual topics, guys, I think many people watched what was considered, and I'm going to air quote here, the presidential debates. And that is part of the reason that we came to this topic, right, was the presidential debates. And so we titled tonight's show, Say What You Mean and Do What You Said, or Do What You Say You'll Do. And it's all about integrity, because especially watching the American dumpster fire that they called the 2020 presidential debate, it was a mess. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Matt? Let's just getting in here early.
Dude, okay, so my first thought, look, do you see how I immediately went to defensive? Oh, I sent you a private message, by the way, in the private chat, Mike. So you see how my arms were crossed all like defensively, which I shouldn't have done, but that was obviously like subconsciously me protecting myself in this. I'm gonna try and go nonpartisan with this because I said this in our first show. I get frustrated when Christians try and act like Donald Trump is the bastion of Christianity. But here's what I thought, dude. It wasn't a debate. It just wasn't. What it was in a debate, a moderator asks a question and shuts up, and they only moderate and tell people, hey, stop interrupting, maybe, right?
Sure.
But what we watched was I've never seen a moderator try and call someone out and push them and ask questions. Throw out whether he did it more to Trump or Biden, right? We'll say that for a different day. But I don't feel like it was a debate. I felt like it was 90 minutes of, here's all the stuff that we think you're not doing right, Trump. And hey, Joe Biden, what do you think about that? That's literally what I felt like I watched. And here's what I'll say. I think Trump didn't do himself or America any favors. All he did was spend 90 minutes trying to say all the stuff they're saying about me is wrong, and here's what I did great. And all Joe Biden did for 90 minutes was go, you're a clown, man, and hey, man, here's the deal. And I thought it was a mess, and I'm gonna say I was truly disappointed in everybody on the stage, and I was truly disappointed in the moderator, and I've been equally, if not more, disappointed in what I've seen on social media since.
That is absolutely 100% agree with you. And here's one of the things that stood out to me. See, I absolutely, yeah, come on, man. I initially, when I was having a conversation with my wife, did not think, I said, well, he wasn't, I don't feel like, there were a lot of people on the right side that said, oh, well, Chris Wallace was really taking Biden's side. And I'm like, I didn't feel that way. I didn't. But what I did, here's what I picked up on, is both candidates came in on their own sort of offense without playing offense on the subject they should have played offense on. And the moderator came in on the defensive. He knew it was going to be a mess.
Yeah. I'm with you. When I say Chris Wallace didn't do a good job, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he came in to submarine Trump or to hold up Biden. But I'll give you an example of what I mean. And this goes with what we're talking about with integrity. In 2016 or 17, it's 2017, Chris Wallace asked Donald Trump about the whole racism thing in Charlottesville.
Oh, it's been asked a bunch of times.
Yeah, but Chris Wallace himself asked that question.
Okay.
And in asking that question, got the answer. So he knew, and it was elaborated on years ago. So it would be different if Joe Biden had brought it up and said, dude, you're a racist. Because we know that, Democrats like to call Trump a racist. Trump likes to call Democrats every other name, right? So we know that banter happens. But for the moderator to bring up something from 4 years ago, it's like, to quote Joe Biden, come on, man. You cotton-headed ninny muggins. Oh, wait, that's from Elf.
Was that I was going to say, did he say that the other night? Because I missed that interaction.
No, Mr. Narwhal. No, but that's the funny thing is so I'm not going to say he was there to submarine, right, the president and uphold Biden. But what I will say is I don't think it's appropriate. If you're going to have a debate, I understand one candidate throwing rocks at the other. I don't think it's professional. I don't think it's good. But it makes sense because neither of them seem like real high integrity dudes right now. But for a moderator to ask a question that he has already had answered 3 years ago, then it's no wonder people are going, hey, it was Chris Wallace and Joe Biden against Trump, right? So I can see why people would say it. I just think it was a poor decision by Chris Wallace. But I think all three of those dudes did some things that lacked integrity on the stage. And
I agree with you.
And that leads into what we're talking about.
Well, and here's one of the pieces of that is what's interesting is, as we're talking about integrity, the integrity piece after the fact, because then everybody takes, okay, so debate aside, and I don't even think it was a debate. It was just it was a sticks and stones will break my bones contest.
Yeah, it was like a schoolyard, your mama fight.
But let's call it someone, I think it was CNN, whom I'm not a big fan of CNN, nor am I endorsing any one or the other, but they said it was like a train headed for a train wreck with a dumpster fire on the back, right? Something along those lines.
That's pretty accurate, to be fair.
It's like headed for a wall. And so after the fact, then all of a sudden you have all these news outlets and people that are partially educated on social media, on all these other venues that are taking the 10-second snippet and they're expanding that as if that 10 seconds, this 10-second video snippet, this 10-second reply was the stance for the entire debate. And for example, like you're talking about, will Trump denounce racism or denounce the KKK and Proud Boys and so forth. If you read the transcript, here's a unique thing, because I went back because I said, I don't remember that. And I went back and I actually read the transcript to pieces of the debate. One of the things that I think is really unique happens when you read the transcript of anything. It's black and white. It removes all the tone, it removes all the body language, and it removes all the emotion. So the irony where they're saying, oh, Trump didn't answer this question. He absolutely did answer the question. And
sure, then what do you want me to call them?
What's that?
He said, sure, what do you want me to call them?
Even prior to that, Matt, the direct quote in all the transcripts, he says his response, which he got answered over, was when they said, well, do you denounce white supremacy? And he said, yeah, of course I do. That was the knee-jerk immediate response. But many people didn't catch it, and you often don't catch it in a 10-second snippet because it's so matter-of-fact. It's like, well, of course, you bonehead. And then you go on to read everyone else. So here's something that's interesting. Joe, our buddy Joe says, everyone learned from the mainstream media, only take the parts that fit your narrative.
Joe Ingram, it's spot on. And here's the deal. It happens with all mainstream media outlets, but it also happens with small ones too. Here's reality. As human beings, it's kind of like what we talked about last week with truth.
Yep.
We take our truth or what we want to be true, right? It's just like right now, like Jim Acosta tweeted the other day, it is official, Donald Trump denounced racism. What up, Lily Williams? Love you, bro. Good to see you on here.
What up, dude? Hope you're well too.
So Jim Acosta tweets that, right? Which is interesting that he did. And it's like, well, the whole clip after Charlottesville, right? Because everybody goes, oh, like even Joe Biden brought it up in the debates. Oh, there's good people on both sides. It's like, dude, for 4 years, we've been watching the whole thing. And here's the deal. I'm not saying that Trump is or isn't racist. I don't know him personally. The things that he's done make it seem like he isn't, in my opinion. I don't know him personally. I will not die on a hill for anybody that I don't know like that. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. And here's what I love Joe Ingram. But here's what frustrates me is why are we not having the integrity to talk about, why are we bringing up things that we already know the answer to, and we know the answer is not what we're aiming at? This is I'll give you a good example of where this went. Great example is Proud Boys being labeled as a white supremacist group. I don't know if anybody knows the backstory, but my good friend Tony Galson sent me a link from Joe Rogan where they talked about how this ding-dong group came to be. So I'm going to give everybody a little backstory and make you laugh a little. The guy Gavin, who founded it, in his company, there was some scrawny, effeminate dude that worked for him who was horrible with women, who they were like, you are the complete opposite of anything masculine. And he said, we're going to create a club to teach little dudes that are wimpy like you how to be real men and be a real man that a woman wants. It's almost like the comic book where the guy's kicking sand on the skinny kid and then the kid gets muscles. It was a joke. It's literally started as a joke. So this Gavin dude was out speaking at events, and people were coming out to protest him. And so his buddies started showing up to defend him. And they were out there wearing Proud Boys stuff, and it became a thing. And people were like, how do I join this? And if you go to their dumb site, like they say, like, we like stuff like we support toxic masculinity and and marginalizing women. Like it's like the dumbest thing ever. Is like it was literally started as a club of stupid. Now that being said,
hashtag club of stupid.
Yeah, I don't like them. I'm not sticking up for them. But I'm going to tell you the backstory, because when it comes to integrity, my same friend Tony Dowson, who by the way is one of the most caring, loving, well thought out human beings in the world. There are times where he has pushed and challenged me in my views that have made me go back to my core, wrestle with the Bible, wrestle in my life to say, why do I believe this? Why am I choosing this as a hill to die? That kind of loving dude. Okay.
Okay.
So Tony posts, because they keep calling Proud Boys a white supremacist group, and the chairman, the leader, is Afro-Cuban.
I saw that.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, no, I saw that was an interesting
something Tariq. So he's not white. And he did a post and said, listen, don't like the Proud Boys, don't endorse them, don't support them, don't think they're cool in any way, shape, or form. That being said, we need to stop calling them a white supremacist group, because white supremacists would never let a non-white person be their leader. Like, that's just common sense. One of his friends went to war with him on the post. I mean, went to war with him. And I'm like, and his friend's like, they are white supremacists and they're racist. And Tony's like sharing a picture of the guy and a link to who he is and saying, this guy right here is the leader. Like, you can't be the leader of a KKK like white supremacist group when you're a person of color. Like, that's just stupid. And Tony, in loving ways, literally kept saying, maybe I'm not explaining myself. Maybe this, maybe that. So he shares it, and his friend went to battle with him. And I just talked about this in my latest episode of the Rockstar Unplugged podcast. He went to battle with him, and I'm like, what would make us compromise our integrity and fight with something that we know and see is not truth? So why would we fight for that? Why would we make a hill that we want to die in? Like, why would we compromise our integrity on something that's easily a Google search away to prove that it's a lie? And I think the question is, or the challenge is, sometimes we see something, we believe something, we share something, we stand behind it. And when the truth finally comes out, we got two choices. We have to say the words that are so hard, which is, I was wrong.
Oh, so hard.
So hard. Ooh, it just makes my heart beat like crazy.
I had to say that today. I'll tell you a story about that, not related to this.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we either have to say I'm wrong, which means that now people might question the other stuff we say, or we have to keep fighting the fight, even though we know it's not true. And that's what happened on that post. And that's a lot of what I saw on the debate stage the other night, was a compromise of integrity. Like,
absolutely.
In the behavior, right? Like, while there was some stuff that was very true and proven true, there were things that were not true and proven not true. And it's like a lot of that, like, people didn't care, right? Like, the quote about Charlottesville has been proven not true. There's video showing it's not true. But then you hear Trump go, you called our military stupid bastards in a clip. And I've watched that entire clip where Joe Biden says, hey, I put so-and-so in this role. And nobody said anything. He goes, clap for him, you stupid bastards. Mm-hmm. And then there's another clip where he says, you guys are a bunch of idiots talking to our military. Now, do I think he really thinks they are? No. I think he was trying to make a joke that went bad. Okay, he's trying
to move himself and like align himself on their team. It's like, when homies, when buddies are saying that, like, oh, hey,
you call your buddy a jerk or whatever. So, and I feel like that was genuinely what he tried to do. But when Trump said to that, he's like, well, you call the military stupid bastards. And Joe Biden's like, no, I didn't. I never did. That's a lie. It's like, dude, it's got like 73 million views. You did say it. So why don't you just go, yeah, I did. And I was joking, you dummy. Like, just say I did, but it was a joke. Like, just own it. Or your son got paid millions of dollars and has no experience. Yeah, he did. But you know why? Because they thought he was good for the role. Like, just but there was like lie after lie, and just I just felt like, and for Trump to call out, even though it's true, to sit there and like bust out his kid, right? Like he's like, your son was dishonorably discharged. No, it wasn't. Yes, he did drugs, but man, don't beat people up for that, because there's other people. You know what I mean?
Here's the one thing that we missed as the American. I got to show this before it goes away, and then I want to trust what you're saying. But leave it to Joe Ingram. Someone on Facebook accused him of supporting a racist that loves the Proud Boys. They said, "Who are they? An '80s boy band?"
That would have been a good name for an '80s boy band.
It would have. I mean, not anymore. Certainly not anymore. But
no,
at the
even
time,
better now. Even better.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine? So, a couple things. I want to take kind of two steps back for a second, because we're jumping right in and we're talking about integrity and the things that surround it. But one of the things we included in the definition was like the definition of integrity, right? So when we're talking about, and I happen to have it written down here, as you know, I prepare for those, Matt, sometimes.
I love it.
So it says, integrity is simply the quality of being honest, having strong moral principles, and being whole and undivided.
Where's that definition from?
I think I just Googled it. It was like the number one definition, and I may have paraphrased it here. I think there was an additional piece to it, but just for the sake of our conversation, it's like, hey, it's the quality of being honest. And so it is the quality of like following the truth. And so like what you were saying a minute ago is when, Joe Biden comes right out and says, oh no, I didn't say that. Like we all know that to not be true. So then right there, he spins his integrity. It's done.
Why did you say it? Just be honest.
Right.
Say, yeah, I did, but it was a joke.
And then you end up with, another part of integrity for me, not by dictionary definition, but it is having strong moral character, like having right from wrong. And so when you have integrity in something, it's being able to stand by what is right, what is wrong, and being able to uphold those principles. It's being able to uphold the push when something else comes along and says, well, you should go this other way. And so like even something as simple today, literally today in my BDC, and this is not politically motivated, but it's the little things that add up to our integrity. And we were going through and we were doing a lead transfer. And one of my guys says to me, he says, hey man, he goes, you didn't transfer those leads earlier. And I'm like, yeah, I did. I absolutely transferred the leads earlier, 100%. And of course, I said it with such conviction. He says to me, he goes, oh man, okay, well, sorry, I must not have checked. And then I stopped to go back and look.
You didn't.
No, it's better than that. I went back and I looked and I said, hey, just for the record, we're both right. He says, what do you mean? I said, I transferred them, but I transferred them to the wrong person. So I'm gonna go fix it right now because I did. I transferred, but so that.
But you owned it.
Yeah, that's part of the integrity. Is like even if you make a mistake, and I'm not saying it to like make it about me. If you make a mistake, like you're saying, hey, and Joe Biden saying,
we're here, Fabiola. 1 second. Sorry, I'm just responding to her. You're good, bro. So like, so him saying these things.
Yeah, even him saying these things, if he owns it and says, yeah, I said that and it was a boneheaded thing to say, or, oh, I was messing with him because we wondered, like you're able to recreate that uprightedness versus staying smack down on the ground and people going, well, Fabiola says, where you guys go? I don't know.
I don't know if her Facebook feed isn't feeding through. So here, hopefully it'll come back for her. If you can hear us, hit refresh on your screen. So on that topic, Mike, I want to point out something to you, my brother from another mother, and that is okay. It's live on Facebook, so maybe she just needs to hit refresh. Yep. But Fabiola brought up something. She said, his son is a criminal and these things. Listen, I'm not saying he isn't, but here's what I'm saying. Here's kind of what I'm pointing out. Integrity, let me share the Merriam-Webster definition of integrity. It says firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. Okay? So if we're adhering to a code of moral values, it goes back to who is the moral value giver? Okay? Who is the moral value giver? Now, this is faith-based, right? For those of you watching, Mike and I believe the moral value giver is God. Okay. So
100%.
that being said, and by the way, you might be tuning in now and be like, dude, you're familiar. I used to listen to your podcast last year, and you didn't really sound like a dude that, God. True. Yeah, right. No, I knew him. I just wasn't acting like it. Like, there you go. Imperfect.
He was like a neighbor, and I didn't want to visit his house a lot, right?
I wish it were like that. No, I was ignoring him. Joe, I don't know why the signal's bad for you because I am pushing 700 megs and I'm hardwired in. Restream might be having some hiccups or Facebook. Joey Little. That's not Joe Ingram. What's up, Joey Little? Good to see you, dude. Thanks for tuning in. And sorry that it's being wonky, bro. Please hang in there. So here's the thing that I want to bring up on that, though. And this is the challenging thing, right? Because if we talk about Merriam-Webster's definition, which says that, and I'll read it again. From adherence to a code, especially of moral or artistic values, you have to say, where does that moral value come from? Who determines that moral value? If we say that is determined by God, and by the way, even for those that don't believe that, let's just say, let's dial it back to not that and just say for a moment, there are moral values, right? Like, we know it's not good to kill somebody. It's not good to rape somebody. It's not good to burn someone's house down. It's not good to steal from people, right? So we ingrained in us know those things. Now, I believe the reason they're ingrained is because they came from somebody bigger than us called God. So if it's about having moral value, then it's about more than just lying. It's also about not attacking one another. Like, you got two people running for the president of the United States of America. You know what would be great? Tell us how you're going to make America better. Tell us how you're going to fix the hurt, right? Like, okay, yep, white supremacy is bad. Yep, racism's bad. Yep, Antifa, bad. Yep, the things going on in the streets are bad. Hey, guys, you both disagree. Let me ask you this. How can you two work together to make this better regardless of who wins? There's a question the moderator could ask. Hey, you're the former vice president of the United States of America. While you got no power, you are, like, legally, you've got a voice and people are listening to you. Hey, Joe Biden, what would you do right now to help quell the violence and get America on the right track? Hey, Donald Trump, you've got all the power right now. What are you going to do starting tomorrow to fix this problem? Like, how about we ask those questions? Joey Little hit it on the head, though. If it bleeds, it leads, right? And that's the thing. People don't. There's a Facebook page called the Happiness Heroes that I used to be subscribed to. Yep.
Okay.
I used to be subscribed to that page because all they shared was happy stuff. And I was like, I like this. Yep. Until the other day. And then they started sharing political crap. And I'm like, it's the reason I disconnected from 4,000 connections plus on Facebook. Not because of anything like wrong. I just went, I want my personal Facebook to just be like close people and family. So I bought an app that allowed me to delete 200 at a time, which is a lot easier than going one by one with 4,600 connections. It wasn't because I had a whole bunch of people I didn't like. It was because I couldn't get away from the negativity, and it was starting to bleed into my life so much that all I did was fight political stuff on Facebook, sure. and it was killing me spiritually, and my soul was dying. So Joey hit it on the head. If it bleeds, it leads, man. People share, people fight. People argue. And here's the reality. Not one of us spends a night at Biden's house or Trump's house and knows them intimately enough to know truly who they are. But from what we watch on TV, nobody is sharing stuff that values America. The other night, America lost.
I absolutely agree. And I want to go back to something Fabiola said here a second ago, because she said, we were talking about Hunter Biden, and she says, hey, his kid's a criminal. It's not just about the drugs. Spread fairness. Stop talking nice about criminals. Hunter Biden is corrupt. I want our money back. So here's
nobody talk nice about him.
Here's the thing. Here's something that I find interesting. And one of the keys to this is right now, people in mass, maybe you, maybe not you, maybe me, maybe Matt, maybe not us. One of the things that we've got to understand, and this may or may not make sense, like Hunter Biden has zero to do with what happens in your life right now. He has zero effect on your integrity. He has zero effect on your morals or moral principles. The reality is here coming up in 2 more months, we're going to go have an election, and if Trump gets reelected, guess what? The next day, you're all going to get up and you're going to go to work. And if Biden gets elected,
burn the building down,
you're all going to get up and you're going to go to work. What's that?
Or go burn a building down, depending on who you are.
I think
chat at you again, by the way.
I think for the most part, for the people that are tuned into this tonight on Friday Night FIYA, it's not going to affect you probably as much as you think or as much as you're portraying on some of your social channels. You're still going to get up and do the same things. So you can choose what to tune into. You can choose if that or how that is going to affect your moral character, your integrity, the things that you're focused on, your mental attitude. You know, all of those things. We have, and Fabiola, I'm not saying I disagree with you. Okay, please don't think I'm like we're sitting here and I happen to be the one with the mic, and I love thought-provoking conversation like this. So I'm not coming in and defending criminals. I don't know the guy personally, but I do know this.
Amen.
I do know people that have been criminals that truly have seen the light and corrected their position with God. The thing that's really hard, I think a lot of times it's tougher for us as humans to accept that correction than it is for God to accept that for them.
That is strong, dude. And a couple things. And Panfilo Hernandez, please share what Joey Little said, because I want to touch on that. Because I think what he said is powerful. And I'm going to say something that might make a lot of Christians mad. And this is the part where I say, good, then maybe hopefully this will make you angry enough to go back and wrestle with your Bible. But Jesus never referred to his followers as Christians. Never. And the Bible doesn't say, for God so loved the Christians that he sent his only son. It says, for God so loved the world. The Bible also says that that Jesus didn't come to judge, but to save. Okay, so Joey hit it on the head. Tribalism doesn't allow your vision to be true. I'm going to say tribalism doesn't make your truth absolute truth, right? And he's right. Different factions of Christians can't sit at the table. Do you know why? Because there was never supposed to be different factions of people that followed the way of Jesus. There was never supposed to be different factions. There was supposed to be a bunch of people going, I'm trying to follow him too. I'm also imperfect. And Joey hit it on the head, right? Half the carbiz are people that need to turn their life around. Pilo knows me from high school. He knows right after high school what I was doing, and I was selling weed and living a life that was not a good life at all. And then I came to know Jesus around 1999, and then I walked away in about 2009 for years, and then I came back. And you know what? The whole time, Jesus was king, like Pilo said. The whole time, God was good, whether I behaved like it or not, whether his moral code didn't change. And here's what I want to hit on with integrity about Fabiola's comment. And it's not about whether or not Hunter Biden's a good or bad person. There's two aspects of that on integrity that I want to touch. One that on Trump's integrity, or that Trump was pointing out, so one that's what he was pointing out with Biden's integrity, and one to point out about Trump's integrity. If integrity is morally doing the right thing, when Donald Trump is saying, your son did these things, he was questioning Joe Biden's integrity to say, your son did these things that were immoral and illegal, and you're covering up for it by saying it's not true. That means you're a man of low integrity. That's obviously what Donald Trump was saying, right?
That's the direction he was headed, absolutely.
But here's the thing. If integrity defined is about adherence to a moral value, then attacking someone's family is also a low integrity move. And as I'm reading in the scriptures, in the book of Matthew in chapter 5, okay, when Jesus is teaching about anger, verse 21, he said, you've heard that our ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you can murder, you're subject to judgment. But I say, if you're even angry with someone, you're subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you're in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you're in danger of the fires of hell, right? So Jesus was basically saying, look, it's not about, oh, if you kill somebody, then it's the bad thing. He's saying, don't you realize that that's happening because of what's in here? Your soul is more important. Who you are inside, that bleeds into who you live as. So when you're calling someone this and you're busting them out and you're calling them names, and I fall into it too, and I do it too, and it sucks, and I try to fix it because I'm not perfect. But man, Jesus was saying, look, if it's in here, that's the problem. Right here. This is the problem. So if I go, oh, Joey Little's an idiot, then it's like,
that's not true, Joey Little. I got you.
Right. If I were to say that, then it's like, I'm not following God's moral values. I am not exercising integrity if I'm bad-mouthing him. I told you, and I'd leave the name out, that when I bounced off Facebook and somebody wanted to comment on a post of mine and I wouldn't let them, that gentleman posted this big rant about which was a low integrity move, talking about, the reason that I had all these people that follow me, but because I became a right-wing nut job, I lost all these followers. So I'm like, you know that not to be true. I deleted everyone. You knew that. I'd shared it for 2 months. I'd shared about it. And the person that posted that knew it too. But my first instinct, dude, was low integrity. I was talking to Dara. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go comment on this. And I actually made a post and screenshotted it and said, what this dude shared about me was not true, blah, blah, blah. And then I went back and deleted the post because I realized even by engaging in that, it was a low integrity move on my part. And that's the thing is like, know if you're watching this that when Mike and I talk about this, we're not saying like, we act in the highest of integrity all the time because we're so great. No. What I'm saying is,
ask any of the people that work with me
mistakes. Yeah. We all make low integrity moves and do stupid
every day
stuff. And it going back and fixing it doesn't mean that you didn't do it. Low integrity doesn't mean that you're perfect, but you should go back and do it anyway. Go back and try and fix it.
When you're saying this, I want to segue into something and a little bit biblical for a second. So as you're talking about, and this specifically ties into all of the things. I thought this was the greatest. I wrote the whole thing down, so I have to read off of it. But Titus Chapter 2, are you familiar? Titus Chapter 2, verses 1 through 15. And this is a New Living Translation version, so it's a little bit of a story. I may not go through all 15 verses, but this is one of those keys that helps us keep on the straight path. It helps us, it really helps define integrity. For me, this is one of those, as we were prepping for the show, I was looking up and it says, as for you, Titus, promote the kind of living that reflects wholesome teaching. Teach the older men to exercise self-control, to be worthy of respect, to live wisely. They must have the sound faith and be filled with love and patience. Similarly, teach the older women to live in a way that honors God. They must not slander others, must not be heavy drinkers. I know we fail on some of those every day. Instead, they should teach others what is good. Like that's one of the keys is teach others what is good. Joey said earlier, it's strange to me, see those guys that change their life around judging other people on social media. And it's like, look, you're just promote what's good. Be kind, right? Spread love, spread goodness, spread faith. It's okay to have difference of opinion as long as it doesn't affect the moral value. Yep. So as it's going, I probably lost my spot in here. It says, older women must train younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely, be pure, work in their homes, do good, I'll skip that part for tonight. It says be submissive to their husbands. That's a different show, ladies. Matt and I are probably going to do that one. We talked about that, right?
Yeah. We should do that next week.
Absolutely.
See how many people could give us thumbs downs.
We had thumbs down on this one just because of the thumbnail, because I had president and vice president on there. It says, then they won't bring shame on the word of God. In the same way, encourage young men to live wisely. You yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. And I'm probably only halfway through those verses, but if you're interested to read the whole thing, it's Titus Chapter 2, 1 through 15. But I love that line right there. It's like that affects everybody. And you yourself must be an example by doing good works of every kind. It is so much more important that you're controlling of what your actions are, what your attitude is, the way that you're affecting other people, because it's very easy to judge others and you go, well, their actions are affecting me, or the debate is affecting me, or how Hunter Biden acted is affecting me, or the crap Trump said is affecting me. No, it's not. You're allowing it to affect you, and still it's a requirement when it comes to mindset, when it comes to attitude, when it comes to integrity and character, both biblically, or if you're not a believer, then, and that's okay, but still you're in control of you. You can't blame other people.
No, I agree with you. And I'm going to touch on two things.
Love
Joey.
yourself before you can love others.
He said low integrity equals low self-esteem. You must love yourself before you can love others. I'm gonna say if you love yourself, it makes it easier to love others.
Absolutely.
It does. I think by default, and even when we have low self-esteem and we struggle with depression and other things, which many people do, struggle with it more severely than others. By default, I think, because there's scripture that says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? And what that means is by default, we tend to put ourselves first, right? Like I feed me before I feed the homeless person, right? I make sure I have a home before I go out and donate to try and help someone else get a home. And when I say I mean like that universally, we as human beings tend to do that. What I've learned is that sometimes loving others helps me love myself. Or if that makes sense, like I know for me personally, the more I am loving and kind to other people, the more I realize it helps me realize my worth and value on this planet. Sometimes, like I'll tell you, dude, like at financially my peak, I'm going to be honest and say I wasn't thinking a whole lot about other people at all, right?
Absolutely.
I was just like, I'd seen how close I could get to Grant Cardone money status, and then he just blew up way too. I was like, darn it. Just kidding. I wasn't like, darn it. I was happy for him, but I was like, no, I'll never catch up. But I had this mindset that I was all about like, how many zeros? How much can I stack up? Okay, I made $250,000. How do I get to $500,000? Right? Like that was my goal, right? And I didn't care at all about other people. But you know what I realized when the crash happened and I had 3 businesses going and got burned on 2 of them by people that I trusted and was close to, that I didn't love me at all. Because when it was just me alone in the dark, I was like, I don't want to be here with me by myself. I'm like, when I think about me, I'm a piece of shite. And so you know what I did? Went out all the time. Got shammered all the time. That's S word, faced, and hammered when you put
shammered. Got it.
So that's what I did, like every night, because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to have to think about who I was, because who I wasn't proud of at all. So I would say when you choose to love others, it does help you love yourself. But I want to go back on that love, because I'm so glad Joey brought it up. And here's the hard teaching, and this goes back to integrity and morals. Teaching about loving your enemies. You've heard it said, the law. And the law says love your neighbor and hate your enemies. But I say, love your enemies. What? Love your enemies? Pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as true children of your Father in heaven. For he gives sunlight. And this is the hard one for us to swallow, the hard pill. He gives sunlight to both the evil and the good. He sends the rain on the just and unjust alike. And this is where today I see on Twitter, Trump and his wife got COVID. I had it. It sucked. It was 8 days of crap. And I see so many people going, oh, that's karma. Oh, that's what you get for not wearing a mask. Oh, maybe this. And I'm like, oh, the rain falls on the just and unjust, and I don't know which he is, and I'm not going to say I do. But what I'm saying is you can't judge who's a good or bad person by what's going good or bad in their life. But you know what you can do? You can look at what Jesus said, where he said, they'll know you're with me. They'll know you're one of my followers by the way you love each other. That's integrity. This continues, says, if you love only those that love you, what reward is there for that? Even the corrupt tax collectors do that much. If you're only kind to your friends, how are you different than anybody else? Even the pagans, the people that weren't following Jesus, do that. But you are to be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect, which means you're supposed to try, because we all know you can't attain perfection.
Just try towards it, though. Just do your best to work towards it. Right?
So
I mean, I think
it's like integrity is loving people enough to actually not trash talk them, not beat them up, not bash them, not bring up their son's coke addiction, not bring up the failed businesses your opponent had. Those are all low integrity moves.
but on top of that, they're all things that every individual, I mean, I said this 2 weeks ago on my Morning with Mike podcast. And speaking of which, we need to bring up your podcast too. So I'll put that on the screen for the end or whatnot. And actually, well, let's do it now. So I do a Monday morning podcast also, Mornings with Mike, which we do verses. And then Matt's podcast here, right? Is that right? Anchor FM, Rockstar?
Yeah, you can listen to it on the Rockstar Unplugged podcast is on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, all of them. So
shameless plug from us. So
no shame in my
no
name.
shame. So the thing is, when we were talking, I was talking a couple weeks ago on my other podcast about how like you have to learn from your past, but you can't live there, right?
Oh,
and
so strong.
And so I've said that to my kids before, because I remember my oldest son coming up through high school, and he would get so frustrated, when he would had some grades that were struggling, and he's like, well, and then he would allow that to carry him through high school. So like I remember his junior year, he and I were having a serious heart to heart, and he's like, well, I just think about when my freshman year or my sophomore year and this and that, and he's so focused on the past, and it's like, dude, you got to learn from those points, but stop reliving that, right? You're already past it. What can you do to change it? And it's the same thing, especially like the low integrity move that you're talking about. You sling that other person's past and try and bring it up. And it's like, the reality is, okay, there's nothing. Did Trump have failed businesses? Yes. Like we all know that. The whole world knows that. What can he do to change that right now, right? There's nothing you can do to change the actual honest piece of the past of what happened, unless you lie about it, and then you're not in integrity also, unless he says that didn't happen. And it's like, we all know it did. So like all of these things, by bringing it up in mudslinging, what I would have liked to have seen, I'll tell you what I would have liked to have seen, because we've talked about a lot of stuff that was wrong. We've talked about a lot of things that are that neither one of us thought went right. So we're kind of talking against integrity. Here's what I would have liked to have seen, regardless of what the questions were, if they were loaded questions or not, however you felt about them. When the question came up and they said, like, for example, I thought this was a great one. It was something along the lines of, and don't quote me on this, something along the lines of, why should the American public vote for you and not your opponent? It was one of the end questions, if not the end question.
Yeah.
Both of them took that as an opportunity to throw crap at the other one. That might have been when the Hunter Biden thing came up. And the reality is, if they had just blacked out and gone to tunnel vision for a second and thought, this guy doesn't exist, that moderator doesn't exist, all that exists is you, the American people, and let me tell you, this is my plan. Here's what I will do moving forward. Not what he did in the past, not what question he asked, not what my past was, and I will not dwell there, but here's what you can expect, boom, boom, boom. Or here's what I will strive to achieve. Because the reality is that no one person, no one president is going to make or break anything. We said that earlier.
No.
But here's what I will strive to achieve. Here's what I'll go after. And then they attempted, in the next 4 years to do those things. I would have, if I was coaching either one of them from a leadership standpoint, I think that would have made a huge difference, because I have people that are in my circle that have never paid much attention to politics. I have people in my circle that they don't care which person wins. And all of a sudden they're looking at this going, this is the best we got. Like, what a mess that was. We're going through these different things. And it's like, do you realize how much opportunity, the opportunity for a debate is to do what? At a debate, the goal is to be able to present your ideas, your methodologies, your expectations, your hopes, dreams for what you want to do, to be able to sway people that might be on the fence over to your side. And none of that happened.
Yes. No, and it's funny. Dara, my wife, and I were talking about this, and I said, one thing that Joe Biden did right was every time he got lost, he would look at the camera and say, here's the deal. And then he would talk to the camera, talking to the people. Now, I don't believe he said much of value, but that was a right move, at least to go in that direction. And I think you hit it on the head when asking, what are you going to do for the American people? I wish that both of them would have said, listen, over the next 4 years, here's what my plan is. Instead of, over the last 4 years, here's what I did. Over the last 47, this is what you didn't do. We talk about integrity, and you hit it on the head like, okay, so let's talk about what high integrity moves are, right?
Yeah.
If we look at the book of Ephesians in chapter 4, verse 29, and this, by the way, is the ESV's translation. It says, let no corrupt talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Okay, it's like, ooh, that's good, right? Like, let nothing but good come out of your face. In Philippians, finally, brothers, whatever's true, whatever's honorable, whatever's just, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely, whatever's commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's any worthy of praise, think about these things. Like, and like Proverbs, whoever covers an offense
So much in Proverbs.
seeks love. Oh, dude, yeah. Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, right? But First Peter 2 also says this. So put away all malice and deceit and hypocrisy and envy and all slander. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation. If indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. As you come to him, let him start. Like all of these things are saying, like, here's the thing. Think good thoughts. Say good things. Bring good into the world. Bring good into the world. Like Titus, to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, to show perfect courtesy toward, and this is interesting, toward all people. It doesn't say to show perfect courtesy toward those who agree with your faction of being a Christ follower.
Towards the other Christians, towards the
toward
other...
the other Republicans, Democrats.
Yeah, no.
It says, speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy toward all people. So here's a few tips for how to do that. When someone says something you don't like, say, I'm curious, why do you feel that way? What made you feel like that? Or I had a guy, I'm going to tell a short story. No, let's tell a short story.
Once upon a time.
I was sitting at Louis' Trophy House in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And, I was doing okay for myself financially. And a kid sat down next to me, young guy, drywall hanger, hands dirty, whatever.
Sure.
His name was David, actually. And he sat down next to me, and coincidentally, Donald Trump came on TV, and he starts ranting about rich white people and how horrible they are. David's Hispanic, by the way. And I've spoken to him multiple times since. Rich white dudes, how they don't care about anybody, and yada, yada, yada. And we started talking. I said, you work with drywall, paint? I notice your hands. And he goes, yeah, man, I hang drywall. It's the hardest work ever. Da, da, da. I go, yeah. When I was growing up, my dad hung, my dad was a carpenter and a painter and drywaller. So to earn money, he would help, have me help him hang drywall. It sucked. Sanding. I had to like mud and tape and sand, and that was like crap, right?
Sure.
He's like, oh, the meaning of hard work then. Da, 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 da. And we're talking. I'm just in there in a hoodie and stuff. And I go, so you think, sorry that it's glitchy, Seth. That's a Facebook thing, it seems like, because it seems like it's got shot that way. So he's like, so you know hard work then? And I go, yeah. I go, so let me ask you this. I go, so you think all these rich dudes they don't care about anybody? He goes, yeah. I go, let me ask you this. Do I seem like a jerk to you? And he's like, no. I go, do you know how much money I made last year? And he goes, no. And I go, about $250,000. I go, do you know how much money I plan on making this year? He goes, how much? I go, double that. My goal is 4 times that, but I plan to do double that. And I go, and you and I have been sitting here talking, and not once did you think I was like a jerk who didn't care about you, right? And he's like, nope. And I go, did I judge you based on the way your hands look and think you were like less of a person because of who you are, what you do, how much money you make, or the fact that you're not white? And he's like, no. I go, so help me understand why it's okay for you to judge that way, because if I weren't sitting here in a hoodie, I'm like, that $76,000 car you walk by outside is mine. Brand new, by the way. I'm like, that's mine. The spaceship, the electric spaceship you walk by, I drive that. I go, probably thought some a-hole drove that, right? He goes, yeah. I go, yeah, it's me. I go, but we've just been sitting here having a good conversation, haven't we? He goes, yeah. I go, so why do you think it's okay? Like, would you like it if somebody looked at you and said, the same things you just said about basically me? And he's like, well, I mean, there's an exception to every rule. I go, bro, not everybody with money is that way. I go, I'm sorry that, that's been your life experience. I'm like, but judging anybody that you don't, like judging people, period's dumb, but judging people you don't know seems to be even worse, right? And it was like, and that's the thing. It's like at the core, the same way that sometimes people with money will look down on someone who's got lack or is homeless or struggling. Like, I have friends go, well, most homeless people are that way because of a drug problem or a bad mistake. Okay, but that doesn't mean they want to be there. And
why do you feel that way?
Yeah. Right? Like, what makes you decide that?
The thing is, like, fast forward into current times, right? That it was. I hope that people, my kids, get judged by the content of their character instead of the color of their skin. Now it's like, I hope that people get judged by the content of their character than the content of their social media. Right? The content of their actual character than what people perceive about them online.
Yeah, but don't skip this and let's own this right now.
Sure.
What we share on the internet is the equivalent of what Jesus is saying about, what's in our hearts comes out of our mouth. Just because we said it with our fingers doesn't mean it wasn't in our heart, right? Like
that's true. If
I go to war with someone on Facebook or Twitter about something and I'm not behaving in a way that's high integrity, that's I'm not. While I don't want to be judged by it, I should full well expect that I will be, because that's how I'm behaving. I'm being a dick. If I be one, I can't say, well, that's not who I am. It is who I was in that moment. That's who I chose to be. It's not who God called me to be, but it's the fool I chose to be. Like Paul, why do I do the things I hate the things I do? Because you're not Jesus. You're a person trying to follow him. And you're writing a bunch of letters to people, telling them how to behave while you're acting like an idiot.
Yeah. Do as I say.
Just like we're doing on here. Telling people, hey, here's this stuff. By the way, yesterday I was a jerk.
Hey, we all go through. I will tell you, I had. Well, I won't get into that tonight.
Get into it.
Dude, hey, I seriously had some Jesus today. We were in I was in my call center, and we had a guy come in I'll leave the company name out of it and everything, but we had a guy come in to sell us a product.
Okay.
And he says, oh, hey, I got to drop this off. And I said, well, that's weird. I don't recognize this person. Like, it's not a vendor we do business with. And he says, well, yeah, I got to leave these cards here. And I said, well, no, that's not our thing. Like, you don't need to leave them here. We're good. And I was nice. I was kind to him. And he went from 0 to FU literally looked me in the eye and was like, F you, you're junk. Da, da, da. And I don't know what was going on in the guy's life right now.
Yeah.
My inside voice said, throw him through the window.
Yeah.
And my outside actions, I think, was a combination of shock and Jesus. That I was like, okay. Seriously, I was like,
shock
I was
Jesus. I love it.
It was shock and Jesus. # shock and Jesus. Because I'm like, I was so stunned that someone who was trying to sell us a product would behave in that manner. One. And then two, I just stayed calm. And then the guy, as he was walking out, get this. I don't know if I told you this part earlier. As he's walking out of the business, he's trying to sell us a product. I said, no, we're not interested. As he's walking out, he turns around, pulls his mask down, spits on our door.
Oh,
no kidding. No kidding.
That's gross.
And it's absolutely gross.
Pre-COVID. Like, that's just a trash move. That's
gross.
a low integrity move.
And so I'm like, so of course, what I did do, I went out and took pictures of the car, took pictures of the guy as he was driving off, because I was like, okay, well, I got to document this. But had I not had some shock in Jesus, I could have had a different outcome. Actually, some of the people that work for me were blown away that I didn't just go through the guy. So,
dude, that's pretty grody.
It was grody.
And
on that note,
Bridge Services said the dangers of generalization.
Yeah,
say
I did. So Bridge Services So he streams and does stuff. He works with me. Literally, he was there. So when I walked out, I was taking pictures. And I said, "Hey, say cheese," right? And the guy said, literally, he said cheese with his, gave me the bird, and I have pictures of that. So it was a great commemoration of today's activities. So on that note, we're just over an hour today. So, and I'm generalizing that story because there's some specifics that got kind of rough, but it's like, man, what a low integrity move. How do you expect somebody to conduct business with you in that sort of manner? So
speaking of integrity, how about next week we talk about, because a lot of people get turned off by being asked about going to church and being a Christ follower. A lot of people get turned off when they read stuff like what gets said in many traditional marriage vows. Wives, submit to your husbands. Why don't we talk about the role of husbands and wives in relationships and what that really means? And let's dig into that very controversial submission word that a lot of people are so afraid to talk about. How do you feel about that?
I'm cool with that, man. We can get into that. We'll talk about it next week.
I'm so glad you submitted to that question.
I did.
That was punny.
That was punny.
That wasn't even.
Hashtag dad jokes, y'all.
Yeah, hashtag lame.
So as we're closing out here for another Friday Night Fire, thank you to everybody who tuned in and joined us. We appreciate you, man. We love the conversation. We love we've got this on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and some other services. So it's awesome to be able to connect with you guys. And I love that you share your comments and we get into that. As I mentioned before, I've got a Monday morning podcast. I'd love for you to join me for that. It's Monday mornings at 7:15 Mountain Time. I have on the screen right there. I'm terrible. There.
I'm pointing at it.
Okay, Matt's pointing at it. You can check out Matt's Rockstar Unplugged podcast at anchor.fm/rockstar. So I've got that. Type that in. When are you doing that now?
So 3 or 4 days a week. I usually hit it in the morning when I'm on my walk. And so you get a little background noise and nature happening. And you can find it on iTunes, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I don't know if it's on iHeart yet, but I'm going to tell everybody pre-August-ish, there's some language. And I didn't delete those old episodes because I think it's important for people to see who we are and who we become. And I also think there's some value in that. But a disclaimer, if you're listening to episodes pre-August, if you got your kids in the car, listen to it first before you play with your kids in the car. But everything going forward, you won't have to have that warning. Though I touch on some topics that are deep, there'll be nothing that would be embarrassing.
That's always good. Matt always has so much good content to share. So for everybody,
so that guy.
Thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, she is going places. With that, I think I'm going to take us out. Remember, sorry, here.
I was putting my finger over the S.
She's going places. Yeah, he's going places. He's going places. Make sure to tell Darren.
That is my wife's desk and office area, by the way.
Sure it is.
That's why I love you.
That's her wardrobe behind you, too.
Actually, that's all for CYC, her charity, Changing Your Conversation.
Oh, that's right. We should mention that next week, too.
Yes, we should when we're talking about women and relationships. That is a very good thing.
That'd be great. Bring her on next week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll see if I can talk my wife into it. Wish me
Let's
luck.
get our wives to be on it with us, and then they can tell everybody how great we are.
My wife's standing at the door. She says, "What happened?" She says, I got my headphones in. All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take us out. Thank you for joining us, Matt and I, for another Friday Night Fire. It's awesome. We love having you here. See it wherever your favorite video platform is. Tune into your favorite podcast platform, and I'm going to take us out just like this. We'll see you next week. Maybe.